Let me be clear. You are entitled to nothing. You are entitled to nothing.
Actually, that's not a bad idea. We should probably call it those red pill guys. Hopefully people will hear this and mistake it for the State of the Union address. How awesome would that be? Look, it's Michael Sartain. Everybody's got, that's for you.
I'm here. What's going on?
That applause is usually reserved for my dog.
Incredible.
Yes.
I'm telling everybody on Instagram to watch us live.
Yeah, awesome, please man. Do. Oh, look, you got a cat. Man, I got to get Ned. Come in here, Ned. Come lay down. I have the Ned cam set up too. Look, here's a Ned cam right here.
Hey, what's the name of that song that you just posted?
That's my intro song. It's actually my band, actually. It's called
okay, so it's not going to be on Instagram, is what you're saying.
Oh no, you're not going to find it on Instagram. But
what's your favorite hardcore intro rock song that is licensed that would be on Instagram?
Oh, that I could. Yeah. Well, yeah. You know, it's funny. Gosh, people don't know the background story of our intro music. The reason why we used our intro music like for Access Vegas, and I usually use it for the outro music for my show, is Giovanni Sanders, and the title track is called Best Head of My Life, right? Yeah. Which is, I mean, if you listen to the lyrics, it is what you think it's about, but it's also kind of like a double meaning kind of thing. I guess we lost Joe. Joe will come back. But Giovanni Sanders is a good friend of mine. He's been on the show once, way back in the day, and the people keep asking me, why do you use that song? I go, because it's royalty free. He gave it to us. We have it. It's actually a pretty badass song, and we own it. So we can use it anytime we want. But that song right there is my band Jinx, and it's available on Reverb Nation. It's not available on anywhere else just yet. But as soon as we have the album release, which will probably be this summer, you'll be able to get that. But you can actually go get it for free on Reverb Nation if you'd like. And nice. The link, all the links to all the music that I use on all of my podcasts is always in the description. It's so easy. Just go click more, and then you guys can go and get whatever you want. All the download to your heart's desire. It's free. All my shit is free. So I'm the biggest Santa Claus there is when it comes to that shit. So, and then also I have new merch out as well, which we have some Access Vegas shirts up there. I've got my Rolo shirts up there, and I got a bunch of other crap that's on there too. Also, below the fold, if you just click on show more, and then it's also in the description as well. So why are we doing this show? Joe and I have been talking about doing a dedicated Reignite show for a while, and we have been sort of partnered up with you forever. I mean, every time there's an immersion, I'm helping you out with something there, and we just have this co-op going, and everybody knows we're already, co-host of Access Vegas, and we do shit together. Just had Jake Monroe on last week. Here's another story about Jake Monroe. Sean Kelly was going to have him on, but Sean Kelly had to go to Los Angeles this weekend, so I couldn't get him on Sean Kelly, but he's going to come back because Sean Kelly really wanted him bad. And so I told Monica Almaguer, who's like Marriage with Monica podcast.
Yes.
Who's a friend. She's been on the show once. I told her, I said, do you want Jake Monroe? I can get you Jake Monroe. I said, watch today's podcast and you'll see what I mean, right? And of course, he had all his makeup on. He looks like Marilyn Manson. She's like, I don't know. I don't know if my audience could get behind that. And I go, trust me, you want this guy. He's a come up right now. He's got more subs on his account than both of us combined. And I was like, you really want to get this guy? So she passed on him and stuff, but I was just like, okay, look at all the comments, and it's like, it's nothing but, and I don't usually get a lot of positive comments. It's usually "fuck you, Rollo." But they loved Jake, and so like I was like, I'll get him for you next time. And he's coming back out again. The update for Jake, I took him to the airport, by the way, on Monday, and so he loved Vegas. He wants to come back. He will probably be back in August for the Swim Week event. He'll probably want to go to the Babes in Toyland event, but he is going to meet us, by the way, in Miami in
nice in May.
So yeah, so he's coming out for that as well. And he's going to hang out with us in Miami because he is also a musician, and he's going to be on tour this summer, and he's beginning it in Florida. So that's going to be that'll be something to look forward to. But we'll have him at the white. I can't imagine what he's going to look like at the white party in Miami. But I don't know. We'll get him dressed up. We'll get a Jackson Maximus to get a suit for him or something like that. But but anyways, I just wanted to just before we get started, I just wanted to let everybody know that the reason I kind of had an ulterior motive for titling this "The State of the Manosphere." I actually did a speech a long time ago. I think it was 2018, and I was at that convention, the 21 convention, back then, and it was I titled the speech "The State of the Manosphere," and I based that speech on a SWOT analysis. Do you guys know what a SWOT analysis is?
No.
Strength. Okay, so a SWOT analysis is this, and it's kind of like campy now, but I guess it's a little weird. But when I was working in the private sector, when I worked in wine and spirits, and I was working in gaming, and I was working in casino marketing and stuff like that, we would always do once a year, maybe twice a year, we would do SWOT analysis. And what it meant is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And what you had to do is come up with like what you thought were like the top 3 of each of those categories. And so I did a SWOT analysis for my speech for that year. And it's funny because a lot of the stuff I went back and watched that not too long ago, and I looked at it and I thought, this was really kind of prescient on my part, because a lot of the stuff that I thought was going to happen has pretty much come to pass. So I figured, since today is also the presidential State of the Union address, which we are going up against right now,
we put it in the background. We can react to it.
I know. Well, we did cover the presidential election. I don't see why.
God, that was so fun, and we all got robbed too.
We got robbed.
What an incredible night!
Yeah, wasn't that great?
What a great night.
Yeah. So I thought maybe we'd do sort of get everybody's opinion on what we think the Manosphere is going through, because right at the beginning of actually, I should say that it was I think it was the day after President Trump got elected in 2024, the day after we got robbed. I think it was Dana Bash who was on CNN, and she mentioned, I still have the sound drop somewhere around here, and she said, well, the term of the year is the Manosphere, and I guess we're all living in the Manosphere right now. And she was just like livid that Trump had gotten into office. And that was the first time I think, I forecast this back in 2021 when I was on Fresh and Fit, and I think I even mentioned something about like, oh, pretty soon you're going to hear the Manosphere on CNN. And 4 years later, 3 years later, 4 years later, here we are. And I thought that was kind of interesting to hear it come out of somebody like Dana Bash on CNN. And so now it's almost like the Manosphere is this household name, and I think it's sort of been bastardized. Well, it's definitely been bastardized from what I was talking about as far back as Fresh and Fit in March of 2021. And so you've been doing this for how long now, Mike? I mean, how long have you? You like to call yourself Red Pill adjacent, but you're still in the freaking Manosphere. So let's
okay. Yeah, that's a good question. For me, when I would have started this, that would have been me in 2007. I went to a PUA boot camp. 2005, I was on Friendster, and I took Double Your Dating by David D'Angelo. 2007, I took a boot camp with Cosmo and Matador from the Venusian Arts. 2008, I took a boot camp with Mystery, and then they started asking me to be like an approach coach on their stuff. And then around August of 2008, that was when I made my first video. So that's when I would say I started coaching. So that's about 18 years ago when I first started that. Where there was back then it was just the Red Pill Manosphere existed, but I didn't know about it. And the pickup guys weren't really privy to it. Also, had no political component to it. There wasn't a conservative pickup or a liberal pickup. Most pickup artists that I know now are a little bit more left of center actually than right of center. They're very egalitarian. They don't care about a woman's body count. These guys were like, they brag to their friends about dating strippers. It was a very different world back then. Manosphere stuff, I think probably the first thing I ever saw was, I think Ryan Stone and you and Myron did some a StreamYard call together. And I saw it one day and I was like, oh shit, that's what Rollo Tomasi looks like. Cause I had no idea. And I never fucking thought about it. And then completely separate to that, I started my own podcast. And when I started my podcast, I think what kind of included me in this was the podcast was growing because I interviewed Bilzerian and I interviewed David Buss and a few other people, Ty Lopez. And then the podcast was growing. And then Andrew Tate and I would talk back and forth on WhatsApp. And then he introduced me to Justin Waller, who introduced me to you. You and Justin Waller, it reintroduced me to Fresh, and then Fresh had me on Fresh and Fit with you. And then the rest is history. Everybody else started asking me to come on. So it was one of these things where it wasn't like I sought out to be part of the Manosphere. What I sought out was when the first time I read The Evolution of Desire by David Buss and came to the realization that this was a real tangible thing that was happening. Like hypergamy is something that's studied in animals and studied in humans, and that no one was really seriously discussing this. Instead, it was, I don't mean to throw shade at these people because they all have great businesses, but like Dating by Blaine or Marty Wingirl Method or all these other, Coach Kyle, whatever. These guys are, they're dating coaches, but they're not using science to back up what they're doing. So this was an opportunity. I was like, whenever we had a discussion about cheating, if you guys want to listen to Mac and Murphy, you can hear him talk about it. Whenever we have a discussion about cheating, we're saying men cheat more, women cheat more, and we're like dunking on each other. But Mac and Murphy is like bringing the actual data. So there's actual data. We're just too fucking lazy to look up the actual data. And by the way, one other thing, side note, I want to let all you guys know this. On all my videos, I tell you guys frequently, you need to have ChatGPT, you need to have Grok, you need to have Perplexity, DeepSeek, Gemini, and Claude. I would recommend you have at least those 6. If you want to include Poe in there, you can as well. Those 6, and I ask questions to all 6 of them. When you're looking up academic peer-reviewed research, Perplexity is the leader in the clubhouse. If you guys just want to look up peer-reviewed research, because Perplexity can only give you an answer, whereas ChatGPT tries to use reasoning and almost like kindness and like psychology to give you the answer. It reasons through an answer. Perplexity can only source its way through an answer. And that's why Perplexity, for me, it can also hallucinate because sometimes it gets bad sources. But Perplexity for me is the best. So if you guys want to go check out my YouTube channel right now, I just made a video called Science versus Social Circle. And we have an academic. He's a member of a faculty of a prestigious Ivy League university. That's all I'm going to say. And he asked me questions for 2 hours, and we go over one study after another, sort of proving where we are with regards to how attraction works as far as pre-selection, mate choice copying, as far as hypergamy is concerned. So what happens before is, I want you guys who are in the chat right now, think about this, right? I want you to think about how you understand how women sometimes chase clout or interested in status. But when you say it out loud, your coworkers and your family call you a fucking misogynist. You get who hurt you, bro? Think about all that who hurt you, bro bullshit that you hear from people whenever you're saying things that you know objectively to be true. Now you don't have to worry about that anymore because the data backs up what you know to be true. The data understand. Again, evolutionarily, if I were to sit there and have a study and say, okay, which man 27,000 years ago would be more likely to have his own children that he's raising? The man who lets other men hang out with his wife all day at the cave, or the man who protects his wife from being around a bunch of other men? And then you say, okay, where does jealousy come from? It's an evolutionary adaptation. You can use the science to understand where that comes from instead of listening to somebody on some show, Mooncat, talking about that's immature. You're just an immature dude. Like, no, this comes from a place. If my jealousy, my mate guarding allowed me to raise my children instead of being cuckolded by someone else, that's where it comes from. That's not insecurity. That's an evolutionary adaptation. Now I know why that's the case. Whenever I had a debate with this one woman. She's a polyamorous matchmaker. And she's like, you've never let your girlfriend fuck another dude in front of you? Well, you're missing out. You don't know. And then I explained to her, she's like, most men would enjoy it. I was like, hold on, let's go back to first principles. What does evolutionary psychology tell us? If most men enjoyed watching other men fuck their wives in front of them, they wouldn't be raising their own children. They'd be raising someone else's children. The men who didn't allow that would raise their own children. That genetic proclivity would be passed on. The men who were cucks would not be passing along their genetics. Therefore, the cuck proclivity is it's the recessive gene. It's not the dominant gene. What I'm saying is it's incontrovertible, but it's so it's so offensive when people talk about it, and yet every single guy who's in the chat right now knows what I'm saying is true.
But
I'll tell you what I'm saying is true.
I'll tell you what. Okay, because I know you just mentioned like Jeffrey Miller, and I actually like Jeffrey Miller, but he like blocked me like ages ago, and the reason why he blocked me was because he and his wife, what's her name, Diana Fleischman, right? Who I knew her because she was a behavioral psychologist, and that's where I was cut from, was behavioral psychology back in the day. And so I started following her, and then I just came into contact with Jeffrey Miller after that. And I thought he was fantastic for the longest time, but then they were going on these speaking tours about like how great the poly lifestyle was. And I'm like, but you know about the mate guarding phenomenon, right? You know about like the male jealousy instinct, and you know about sexual revulsion in women, right? You know all that stuff. And I got into this one conversation right before he blocked me. I got in this one conversation with him, and he was trying to explain to me like, well, that's the nature of the kink. You have to eroticize your jealousy instinct. And I'm like, okay, but like, what about if you're a guy who's like prone to violence and these guys who really want to, guys who are more possessive and those kinds of things? I said, he's like, well, I'm not saying it's for everybody. It's only for people who have the intellectual, or who have the IQ to eroticize their jealousy around response. And I was like, I don't think that's a good idea.
There's nothing wrong with Jeffrey Miller wanting to have an alternate lifestyle. That's not the criticism. The criticism is when people tell me most men would enjoy it. No, we wouldn't. No, we wouldn't. That's not like, again, part of my maleness is my attraction to women and my non-attraction to men. That's what makes that is part of when I went through puberty. Before puberty, I knew I liked girls. After puberty, I really knew I liked girls. Part of my maleness was my attraction to women, and part of my maleness now is my necessity to not have other men touch the girl that I'm dating. Okay. In general, that's what it is. That doesn't make me wrong or right. And it doesn't make Jeffrey Miller wrong. What I'm saying is, evolutionarily, there's no way you can tell me most men would enjoy having another guy pound his wife. There's no way, because if that was the case, we wouldn't have a species. The species wouldn't exist. That's my point. Mathematically, what they're saying doesn't make sense. And so when we go back to first principles, and for me, first principles is always evolutionary psychology, then that's why I can come to that realization, no matter how offensive it comes off to people.
Well, I think, getting to the state of the manosphere right now. I think, I've been in this, what was called, we didn't even call it the manosphere back when I got into it. There was no manosphere. In fact, Red Pill was just coming into its own back in 2004. But what has become the manosphere anyways, it used to be sort of we went through the pickup artist days, obviously. And that kind of gave rise to I think a broader discussion, or it was more about psychology at that point, because I remember when even when Mystery was really, really active, like in 03, 05, 07, in those years, he was still quoting studies. He was quoting David Buss, as far as I remember. And I came across, that's about the time I came across Dr. Marty Hazelton at that time, who was doing the ovulatory shift studies at that time. And then, we got Steve Stewart Williams. There's a few other people that David Buss, everybody drink. We mentioned him.
Do me a huge favor. Yeah. Steven Stewart Williams said he's going to do my podcast. Please don't yell at him for the next 6 months. Please.
No. I am so down. Dude, I want to get out. I would love to be on that show, because I love some Steve Stewart Williams. I don't have a problem with him whatsoever. I think a lot of people, once his new book drops, a lot of people are going to have a problem with him. But,
agree. A billion years of sex differences. Again,
what I actually pay good money every month to subscribe to his Substack, because I think he's that damn good. And and he's been dropping, thank God, he's been dropping little tidbits of each chapter that's coming out in the book that's coming out in June. And just the stuff that he's dropping right now, I'm like, this is the same kind of stuff that we've been talking about in the Red Pill since 2014. And you already know I really like his stuff. I quote him quite a bit on my essays as well as on the show often enough. In fact, I think was it me that turned you on to Ape Who Understood the Universe, I think.
Yes.
But it was I mean, that was one of the best books I think certainly on evolutionary psychology. And it's funny too. It's like relatable because he's like, the book is written from the perspective of like an alien coming to Earth, trying to figure out like why the humans do what the humans do. And so he's explaining it in those terms. And that's what makes it fun and relatable, and it resonates with people. But I'm really looking forward to the new one. But I think that's also from like my perspective when it comes to the Manosphere today. I think we were a whole lot more, I mean, from my perspective, I think we were a whole lot more focused on the science side of things. At least I was anyways. I mean, there's a lot of people who really still wanted to sensationalize it. We sort of had the red pill guys versus the game guys, right, back in the day. And I think we've sort of made peace with everybody right now, because as I've said before, I think that the red pill is the theory and the sort of the book smarts, right? And game is the practice. And so each one is incomplete without the other. So you take the theory, you say, okay, I think this is what's going on. You go out into the field, you figure it, experiment with it, see if it works, come back to the lab and say, this is what worked and this didn't work. Okay, then we adjust the theory and we go out and do it again. So it's this sort of symbiosis. There's the theory and the practice, and each one is incomplete without the other. Problem is there was a separation between those for a while. So it was like, oh, you guys are all theory and you're all talking, you don't do anything. And then there's the guys who are just going out there. Then there's the fat kid in Brazil who's just going out there willy-nilly and doing what he does, right? And so that was the separation. He doesn't do anything now. Yeah. But, I mean, yeah. Well, he would never acknowledge the science part of it. It was just like, here's what I do and here's why it works, But I think right now, especially, I really enjoyed your talk with the anonymous guy and with the voice modulator. And I think I should also point this out, is I think that the very fact that he needs a voice modifier at all speaks volumes about what we're doing.
When he's tenured and he has a best-selling book, I think he'd be comfortable coming on and having this conversation. Like Dr. Buss is tenured. He's not worried about saying something, because I mean, the stuff he says is controversial. And also William Costello, same sort of situation where he kind of, because he gets to go on these huge podcasts, he can say things in a way where it's kind of inoculated and protected, because he's on Chris Williamson's show saying it. And he also, he's under the expertise of Dr. Buss. But a lot of these other guys, when they say this stuff, they get into deep shit, especially at a university like Harvard. UT Austin is going to be way more accepting of alternative. When I say alternative, I mean conservative, alternative viewpoints. UT Austin is, because we're in Texas, but you're not going to have the same thing if you're at Cambridge or if you're at Penn or if you're at Columbia or if you're at Yale. Then you're going to have a very different response.
Yeah, I often quote Rob Henderson. I've been following Rob Henderson since 2019, since before he even had a podcast, since before he even had a Substack. He was still I believe he was going to Harvard or Oxford. He was going to a pretty prestigious school. He was out of the Air Force. He'd already served in the Air Force, and then he had gone into evolutionary psychology, and he was at a pretty, I want to say it was an Ivy League. Now that he's like, when I was following him before he was Dr. Rob Henderson, I was still quoting him. I still have all my bookmarks on my Twitter are from a lot of the stuff that he was talking about as far back as like 2019, 21, 22 in there. And now what I see happening is, because he's got his doctorate now and he's got a book, and I don't know if he's got a movie deal or something else that's going on. I know he hangs out with the Petersons, like Michaela and Jordan Peterson. But I think that what happens, especially for a lot of psychologists, is, and I would throw Dr. Taraban in there as well, Sadia Khan, although she's not really a psychologist. I think a lot of people realize at some point along the way that it's not enough just to be a psychologist, or just to be a church pastor, or just to be an author for that matter. You've got to be an influencer as well. You've got to be a public figure if you want to get your message out there. And if you want people to, view you as a legitimate psychologist, whether you have a private practice or whatever. I'm not sure, like, most of these guys are still doing private practice, other than like just maybe doing online or telephone consults at this point. But you think about this, these guys have to go through something like 8 years, maybe 10 years in some cases, to get their degrees. And then what do they have to do? Then they've got to pay back their student loans, and then they've got to pay for a private practice. They got to have malpractice insurance. They've got to have an office. They got to rent an office, probably have a secretary. I don't know, however they work it out. But there's a lot of overhead to just be a psychologist, right? And to be, at least in a clinical sense. And then you go online and you see somebody like John from Modern Life Dating, and he's sitting in a bubble bath, and he's got like, he's got 3,000 people that follow him, as consults for, body language mastery. And the guy's been making, a shit ton of money for the last, while you were in college, learning psychology, he was there making money because he was already doing outreach and he was already an influencer before you got there. And so, but the same dynamic, I think, goes for not just psychologists, but it also goes for authors. It also goes for anybody who is a sort of a professional who would benefit from having a blog, from having a social media presence, from being making the rounds on podcasts. I mean, even if you look at like Mac and Murphy, who I have a lot of respect for, even though people think, I give him shit a lot, but like, I still think he's the best of the bunch anyways. But he doesn't have his own show. He just goes from podcast to podcast. He'll go on Chris Williamson's show, or he'll go on Soft White Underbelly, or wherever. I forget where the most recent one he's been on. But he goes on there, and that's how he makes the rounds. Is he goes and basically goes into other like A-list podcasts, and that's how you know his name. I know he was on TikTok for a while, but then he lost his TikTok after that. But again, it's not enough.
Wait, why did he lose his TikTok?
Probably because he spouted off some facts or some figures or some data that offended the ladies and got kicked off because they thought he was a red pill podcaster.
That's crazy.
I know, but he lost his TikTok, and he was in the millions. I think he was like in the 4.3 million followers on TikTok, and it was like gone overnight. That's just how it works.
I'm texting him. I'm texting Mackin right now. I'm like, yo, why did you lose your TikTok?
Yeah, he lost his TikTok recently. But yeah, it's amazing. And then I don't know, maybe he's rebuilding it now, but I know that he has been making the rounds to just to get on more, same thing happens with Taraban. Taraban has his own podcast, his own show, but it's basically front loaded pre-recorded stuff. He doesn't do any live stuff. Like none of these guys really do lives. And I think that's funny because I was also going to say, I think one of the strengths of our show and our groups is we're willing to do shit live. And I think that's sort of like the test of a podcaster is, can you live stream? Because we're live streaming right now, and I live stream for, let me stop lying, 4 hours on Sundays. And people will spam my chat. People will super chat just to fuck with me. They'll hate follow, but I think that's the if you can, keep your cool under those circumstances, I think that's a skill that you have to sort of develop. But I think that the scientific side, like you and I think that's one of the reasons why you and I click so well, is because we were both really kind of dedicated to that. Or, we have I think it was Gad Saad who said that he has an obligation to objective truth. Right. Yeah. And, yet another, evolutionary psych. I would really love to get Gad on the show. He's the only person I think I would be starstruck by, like to have Gad Saad on the show. But we tried to get him, and we couldn't afford his speaking fees because he charges speaking fees.
He just made that up. I don't think he had speaking fees. What's disappointing to me is not that Gad Saad wouldn't come on with us; is that he went on with the roommates. Like that was ridiculous to me. And why would you do that? Like I'm actually reading all of your books, bro. Like, and the other thing is, Gad Saad is not a PhD in evolutionary psychology. He is the chair of the evolutionary psychology department at Concordia, but he does not have a PhD in evolutionary psychology. I believe it's in consumerism or behavioral consumerism. I forgot what his PhD is actually in, but he does discuss a lot of evolutionary psychology stuff.
Well, and I think it was his first book, The Consuming Mind. He basically bases the whole thing on evolutionary psychology, which I think is funny because like when you and I talk about Evo Psych, we're usually talking about it from intersexual dynamics, but there's so much. He's not just getting your dick wet. I mean, he was talking about like economics and how like purchasing, like impulse buying and stuff like that, and why that's a thing. I was like, wow. There's another great book. Go ahead.
One of my favorite quotes from his book is he goes, if pornography and strip clubs were only based on male patriarchy, then why are there gay strip clubs? and you sit there and think about it, it's like, oh shit. No, it's because men are horny. That's why they're strip clubs. It's not because of patriarchy.
See, that's the kind of shit that gets you kicked off of TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. And like when you think about it, it's like, dude, I can't argue with that. That's exactly right.
Yes. Well, like I was saying, like I don't know what the actual video was that got Mac and banned off of TikTok, but that's the thing, is it's another chance that you take. Like, I think one of the reasons why you and I are sort of in a special class of podcasters is because we tend to base all of our we tend to base most of what we talk about on actual science, on actual data sets, on actual, like you and I, people don't know this, behind the scenes, you and I are like, we're texting each other like articles all the time to talk about these articles, right? You tell me most of them are bullshit, but that's okay. I'll still talk about them with you. But that's the thing, is like the dialogue and the discourse that you and I have. I think it's a lot different than what most people would consider the manosphere. Everybody wants to call the red pill clavicular. Everybody wants to call the red pill whatever Myron is doing right now, or whatever, whatever Andrew Tate is doing right now. And I think that a lot of people don't understand that the manosphere / red pill doesn't begin and end with Andrew Tate or Myron Gaines or Pearl or whoever else, right? It's been going on for a whole lot longer than anybody is probably willing to invest themselves in. But it would take more time for them to figure that shit out. But I do think this, and one of the things I wanted to mention here is, when I was in the hospital, I had Myron text me. And he was saying, hey, man, we really need to do a panel show that's just dedicated to red pill stuff. And I was like, yeah, we needed to do that for a long time. We used to have this show called Rule Zero that you used to be a part of.
Yeah, the problem is, while like Myron is going to say things and it's going to come off way more interesting than we are. I am the first guy to admit that Myron is way more entertaining than I am. And Myron is super fucking smart. The difference is, once Myron goes into these dumb hoes are entitled, we lose a quarter of the audience, and then we can't get it back. And part of that quarter of the audience are all the academics. They're just off board. They want nothing more to do with us, and we can't have a conversation anymore. There's no reason. Myron at this point is probably more popular. Like, all the podcasts that won't have him on, he's more popular than those podcasts. I was looking at his engagement numbers. They're fucking crazy. What's really funny is, remember when Flagrant tried to school him and Fresh? Flagrant was way bigger than Fresh and Fit. Fresh and Fit is way bigger than Flagrant now. If you count all of Myron's, all of his different channels, he's way bigger than Flagrant. And so that's what happened, after a while. And so the problem is, while I agree with what Myron's saying, and I think that he's right, and I really do admire the fact that he's going to these campuses and he's challenging these people, as soon as he says these dumb hoes are delusional, then there's about a quarter to a third of the audience that I'm trying to reach that I can't get to anymore. I just can't. The conversation is ended. There's no way. I can't have a conversation with Mac and Murphy, William Costello, Alex from Dateside, Chris Williams. I can't have a conversation with Stephen Stewart Williams, Joffrey Mill. I can't have a conversation with them once we go to these hoes are delusional. And what he's saying may be like objectively correct, but I can't have the conversation anymore. And that's really what I want, because I'm a result-driven person. I'm not trying to fund a movement. I'm trying to get results for specific people who want it.
Yeah, I get into it with people even to this day, but like certainly when we first started Access Vegas, people were going, "Oh, Rollo, you really jumped the shark, man. I don't know why you like. I liked it when you were so more serious." And I'm like, yeah, but you guys, like, this is what you guys wanted for the longest time. But then I have to remind them and myself occasionally that what we do on Access Vegas, we still have pretty good substantive conversations on Access Vegas, even though we're surrounded by strippers and OnlyFans girls and commercial porn stars and stuff like that. But we still have, like, someone like Jessica Aaron can come on, and she'll try to challenge somebody like Jake, Jake Monroe. And that's a really good conversation, because now you're going to say, okay, this is my interpretation. This is my perception of you. Okay, let's see if we can dissect this and see why you think the way you do. Because I'll tell you right now, like, a lot of what you're talking about is just basically misconceptions, because you're only getting one side of it on TikTok or on an Instagram reel or something like that. But we have these really good substantive conversations. It's just that everyone in the chat's like, "Oh man, there's so many plastic tits on this show," and they can't get past that. And then when I'm putting out, like, where I'm retweeting or I'm putting out some new study that I've got, they're like, "Oh, aren't you the guy who talked about the vasectomy? Aren't you the guy that just does, you're surrounded by, hookers and blow in Las Vegas?" I'm like, no, I still have a Sunday show called The
Most of the girls on the
show.
I'm going to say this. If you check, most of the girls who come on the show don't have boob jobs. Most of the girls who come on the show are not sex workers. You guys just don't notice them. Calamari is not a fucking sex worker. Summer Eli, who was on 2 episodes ago, she's not a sex worker. I can name tons of them who've never even been close to being sex workers, but yet that's what you guys all notice. So if I have 8 girls and 2 of them are sex workers, then what you saw was nothing but fake tits and sex workers. That's what happens every time. And it's like, well, I don't know what to do for you. You know what I'm saying? Because it is a representation.
What's our girl who's the photography girl? She's been on the show probably.
Cassandra's not a sex worker. She's a photographer.
Not a sex worker. In fact, she's got a real career. Yes, yeah. Or we'll have Miss Nevada on there, or we'll have some, like, we've had women who are like really high functioning, real estate agents. It's not that we or hell. I mean, we just had. I mean, Jamie Lynn's hot. I'm just saying, but like she's also got a degree in psychology too. So like if you're not, I think a lot of people want to discount what she's going to say just simply because she looks the way she does. And but first of all, I think that's unfair. And then the other thing is that we get lumped into being sort of soft on the girls all the time, because I think a lot of that audience expects us to get her. And we don't get her. We actually have a conversation because that's what we're really interested in. Right. We're not there to just kick girls off the show, but be that as it is, I have that demographic where Access Vegas is, at least in a lot of other people's opinion, is like more entertainment based. Right. But I still do 4-hour podcast every Sunday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on my show, where I get into some really, really, meaty nuts and bolts, topics all the time. I haven't changed my tune or anything like that. I just broadened my horizons with a different show. But again, the reason I'm bringing that up is because that, I think, is an effect of the Manosphere. So right now, you've got EV Magazine and all the trad femme and trad wife, girl, Brett Cooper, fangirls who simply think that anything that comes out of your mouth or my mouth or anybody who's quote unquote red pill is in some way going to be so biased and so misogynistic that that they don't want. It's either we want to have sex with anything on 2 legs, or we don't want to. We don't want men and women to get married because reasons, because of, because you're red pill. Right. And again, I don't think they know what to do with me when it comes to, that side of the fence too. Cause it's like, I've been married for 30 years. I've been married longer than you've been alive, girl. So, I think right now we're kind of in the Manosphere. We're kind of in this state of confusion, I guess, because everybody seems to think that the Manosphere is Andrew Wilson. Like, how many people have called Andrew Wilson red pill? And he's just like, nah, I'm not really red pill. He's definitely red pill adjacent, I would say, but I don't think he would describe himself as being red pill. But he is in the Manosphere. And, for better or worse, even Matt Walsh, I could say, is like at least, peripherally in the Manosphere as well. And so I'm trying to think, where do we go from here? Because when I see Clavicular, or I see Larry Wheels or Sneeko or hell, even Nick Fuentes is now, rattling off stuff that I've been talking about, 5 years before when he was giving me shit about it. Now suddenly it's cool. So he'll go and he'll repeat whatever he heard from Myron, which is probably something that came out of the Rational Male. And he doesn't even know where it's coming from. But then everybody, they'll bastardize it and turn it into something that sort of promotes a brand, or it's just brand building at that point. And I'm glad the message is getting out there one way or another. But the fact of the matter is I'm more concerned with accuracy than I am with getting my accolades or getting my flowers. Because I think a lot of people a lot of the time think that if I draw attention to somebody who's basically rattling off red pill stats or whatever, they think, oh, well, really, just because you came along first doesn't mean anybody else can't stand on your shoulders and be great and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that's not what I'm worried about. I'm worried about guys getting it right, like being accurate about the whole thing rather than worrying about sensationalism. And I think that's another thing about the Manosphere right now is there's kind of this war between what we do, we're stats-based, science-based. I mean, you just the show you just did a little while ago with the guy with the voice modulator. Or we're trying to, or when we have Richard Reeves on, or when we have, we want to talk to somebody who's sort of in the science-based communities who really probably have a real tough time talking to us in the first place. But the very fact that we're quoting those things, or like Steve Stewart Williams for that matter, or Marty Hazelton, like when we're drawing quotes from their work, I think what's funny is we get criticized. I've been criticized by Rob Henderson of all people for talking about the stuff that I do, but I use I literally use his material to promote, like to back the guy up. It's like, Rob, I love you. Like, why are you giving me so much shit? But he'll go on podcasts and say, I don't know who this red pill, I don't know who this Rollo Tomasi guy is, but let me tell you for the next 45 minutes who this Rollo Tomasi guy is. And I'm like, Rob, another guy that I pay good money to follow on Substack because I think he's worth it. I still think he's great. I like it when he drops new facts and stuff like that. I'll point out that the red pill's been talking about those things for a while, but I don't think that they want that association. And it's like they remember back in, I think it was 2023 or 2024 when everybody was pivoting to politics, and I think you told me this one time. It's like people don't want the stink of the red pill on them, right? And now they do. Now they're like, oh, hey, wait, let's talk about intersexual dynamics now, because that's going to play right now, because it's not an election season anymore. As soon as we get into an election cycle, then everybody's going to pivot back to politics and whatever Myron Keynes is talking about right now. But
hey, Rollo,
yeah,
can we switch gears real quick?
Sure.
And and Michael, can you just talk about results that Man of Action gets for the guys that go through it?
Yeah, because I was going to tell you is that I think that like you and I got into doing what we do because we're results oriented.
Yeah, man. So one of the issues. So here's one of the things that happened. Let me see if I can pull it up for you real quick. Looks like I can't. What just happened?
You could share it with me. While you're looking that up, I was going to say is like
all right,
okay,
here we go. Let me do this real quick for you and share screen. Awesome. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can always talk about F-18s.
Yeah, we can talk F-18s. So one of the issues is that a lot of people think that what happened was we just have this super, what's the word I'm looking for? Superficial methodology for getting women to come hang out with guys, and that it doesn't work. And the thing that we did in the program is we actually took the data. We say, okay, what are the data on things like the cheerleader effect? What's the data on things like when women are pictured in men, do they find them attractive? What's the data on how effective it is for men to be on social media and show high levels of status? And we did that, and we put it all into this program. And the program just has outrageous results. Like, seriously, again, I have 4,300 clients. The problem is, like, when guys see this, it's so antithetical to what they've been taught, because I think most of pickup is fucking creepy. And I think dating apps are a complete and total waste of time. I think that so many of my clients, again, here's one of my clients here who's 4'11". The dude is 4'11", and he's out here with girls. Because what I do shits on black pill. Really, those are the guys who are the most offended. What I do shits on black pill, shits on them. And so they have a really massive fucking problem when they see this. And then I show them these results, and I show them, and by the way, these are not just videos. If you go and click on any one of these, you can listen to the guys talk for 30 minutes explaining to you how this actually changed their life. I have more videos. I can just keep showing you more and more testimonials. I have tons of testimonials. Okay. And by the way, the other thing is, if you guys go on trustpilot.com, you can actually see our reviews on there as well. The thing is, it created so much change in so many people's lives, and so many of those guys ended up getting into relationships or getting married. And what I was teaching was men should be friends with women and have women introduce you to more women. Fuck that, Michael. No, you're wrong. Or, hey, man, cold approach pickup is fucking creepy as shit. And since the pandemic, there's no hot girls going out on a regular basis anymore, and you're having to deal with the fucking DJ and the promoter and all these other people, and so it's much harder. No, Michael, let's go do cold approach pickup. The hot girls are still... No, they're not. They're not out there anymore. No, Michael, let me teach you how to alpha, how to make your dating apps better. Hey, let me make your dating apps so kick ass. And I'm like, dating apps? Why would young, attractive women ever be on a dating app? And so I show this program, and they're like, you're wrong, Michael. And then I show my evidence. And instead of saying, hey, you know what? That's pretty irrefutable. It looks like your evidence is showing that you are getting results for these guys. They just get more angry and more butthurt because they don't like the fact that what they've been learning for the last 20 years, whether or not it's pickup, black pill, MGTOW, whatever it is, whatever they've been learning, it turns out it wasn't correct. It turns out evolutionarily, if you go read The Evolution of Desire, if you read The Ape That Understood the Universe, if you read Mate, if you read any of these books on evolutionary psychology, what you find out is that throughout history, the men with the strongest social alignments had the most access to scarce resources, and they have the most sexual selection. So that's what I taught, and then it worked. But I don't care. Like, I would have done whatever. If Dr. Buss's findings had found that if you wear a pink suit, you get the most bitches, then that's what you'd see a bunch of dudes in pink suits. Whatever. We just did we went where the data took us, and we had the most success out of anybody. And instead of what everyone else does, like all the people who are my competition, they just sit there and say, they make up testimonials. They might have one or two testimonials. I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of testimonials. And instead of being able to stand up to those testimonials, they sit there and they just have to, like one of my favorite ones, there was this video where this guy was like, you shouldn't post pictures with women like this. And I'm like, bro, you're out of your mind. Like, when you post pictures with beautiful women, all that happens is ugly women stop following you and hot women start following you. That's all that happens. And I can show you over and over again, but they didn't listen. And so again, it's one of these things. If I go to someone who's Muslim, or if I go to someone who's Christian and I say, hey, here's proof that Jesus doesn't exist, they don't turn around and say, oh, thank you for proving to me that Jesus doesn't exist. No, they want to kill me. They want to blow me up. And so what I did was, because I don't do it in a very nice way, because I do it in a very harsh, brutal, very cold, calculated way, show you that the stuff that you used to do doesn't work anymore. Because I do that, and because I show so many of my clients who are in their 50s and 60s dating women in their 20s, and they don't use any money to do it, because I'm able to do this without any sugar babying or sugar dadding, it's so against what they've been taught that they get, instead of saying, okay, you know what, I'd like to I'd like to investigate what he's saying, or I'd like to debate Michael on this. Instead, they just get so fucking angry because what I did was I took their religion and turned it on its side. The religion of looks, money, status, their black pill religion, their whatever, the pickup, go up and just talk to girls, blow me or blow me out, direct game, mode one, whatever the strategy was. Nobody wanted to take the time to actually read the data on what worked the best, on how mate choice copying worked the best, or how the cheerleader effect worked the best, or how women choose who other women choose. Women want to fuck you because they see signs in you that other women want to fuck you, period. And because we started from the data and worked backwards and came up with a program that works so exceptionally well, that's the reason why we just put everyone else on their head. And then we have more evidence to show than anyone else. So that's essentially what's happening.
Let me show this up really quick. Says, Mike, I got to ask you this. Chasing women takes time. If someone is not where they want to be at life, is there some way to improve those skills slowly while focusing on your life goals, which make money?
So great. So here's the thing. Ready? I teach you what you want. Or I sell you what you want and teach you what you need. Any of the guys, if you want to take a second and ask any of the guys who've been to the Men of Action program, they quickly tell you that once you get in the program, only 15% of it's about women. The majority of the program is about becoming a self-actualized person who's extremely efficient, who's a self-made entrepreneur, who understands leadership, who understands communication, who understands how to bring high-status people together through events, who understands evolutionary psychology, who understands critical thinking, who understands finance. Those are all pillars in the program. I'm a U.S. military officer. The answer to the question is this: if I have a deeper voice and I'm a better speaker and a better physique and better social media, that helps me make money and it helps me date women. It does both. That's the hard part for people to grasp. They're like, Michael, I don't want to chase these women. I don't want to chase women either. That's why I have a kick-ass social media. So I never have to chase women. I don't want to chase women either. That's why I have an army of women introducing me to more women. So I never have to chase women. That's why I throw events where there's 7 girls for every guy. So I never have to chase women. And I have a virtual assistant who does all of this for me. So I don't spend any time doing this while at the same time leveling up my business. The books in the program are Can't Hurt Me, Buy Back Your Time, The One Thing by Gary Keller. These are business books that we make you, that are required reading in the program, because I'm here to teach you to be a more well-rounded, full, holistic man who's successful and attractive to women, but you're attractive to women because you're successful, because you're competent, because you're relevant. So to answer his question, he thinks it's one or the other. No, motherfucker, it's both at the same time. When you become the most relevant, whatever, accountant, personal injury attorney, whatever in your city, women also find you attractive. That's the secret sauce that nobody taught before me. That's the secret. That's what makes the difference.
I was going to say is like, we get this a lot. Like, I think a lot of people, because a lot of people have men's groups right now. Rich Cooper's got one. I know Teraband's got one. I've got one. Everybody's got a men's group. I think the difference between what you and I, well, first of all, like we're kind of like like Reignite is sort of like the 35 to 65-year-old demographic, right? And a lot of the stuff that we get into is when we're talking about money, muscles, and game. Really, it's health, wealth, and relationships. And the reason why we go with the relationship side of things there is because it's really social skills. A lot of these guys don't have social skills, and especially if you're coming out of a bad relationship or you're coming out of a divorce, your skills are rusty. Maybe you never developed them in the first place, right? And so there's always going to be that social skills aspect. But one of the things I've mentioned in the past is that all of those skills, whether you want to call it money, muscles, and game, all of those are, for lack of a better term, they're kind of they're synergistic, right? They're symbiotic, right? So one of the first things, and I know you do the same thing, is one of the first things we tell guys to get in the gym, start working on your physique, right? That's the muscle side, that's the physical side. And the reason, well, there's a few reasons for that, but the main reason is 75% of the US population is overweight. So it's a pretty good bet you're going to need to get in the gym and work on your physique. Is that the only reason you're there? No. This is Mr. Miyagi, wax on, wax off, right? Go in there and start doing something that you have direct control over already. Once you start getting in there, you're developing better habits and you start looking a little bit better, maybe 6 months down the road, and you look better, you drop some weight, you put some muscle on. How is that going to affect your game? Because you're going to start acting different. People are going to be reacting to you differently because you look different now and you have a different attitude and a different outlook. So imagine this, you're looking better. Now what happens? Well, what's going to happen to if you have new social skills, or if you're developing a better attitude of abundance rather than scarcity as a result of that, then what happens after that? Well, maybe you're open to better network opportunities. Maybe somebody wants to start a business with you. Maybe you get a promotion at work. I don't know, whatever it is. How is that then going? Because you got in shape and then you started developing different social skills. Now you're going to get into be in a better position for finances and the money side of that trifecta right there. What is that going to do for you? So all of those, that's why I keep saying, and no hate on Rich Cooper, because Rich Cooper constantly says stuff like, don't chase girls, chase excellence, right? I'm like, well, first of all, what is that? Because what happens is a lot of guys, when it comes to money, muscles, and game, they tend to gross out in whatever they think their strengths are. So if you're a good looking guy and you don't have a lot of money and you're not really good with, if you're clavicular, and you don't have, I'm not saying he doesn't have a lot of money, he probably does now, but like in the beginning, if all you have is looks, you're probably going to think, well, the only thing women really want is a good looking guy, right? Or if you're not in good shape and you don't have social skills, but you make a shit ton of money, you're probably going to think, well, bitches just want a lot of money, right? So you're going to start like grossing out into whatever you think is whatever's going to be the easiest way from point A to point B, right? Or game, right? Not to say that game isn't important. It's very important, but you also have to be able to combine that with the rest of those three. As combining all of that becomes your frame. And so that frame is then, of course, built upon your burden of performance. Your burden of performance crosses all three of those things: money, muscles, and game. How well do you perform in money? How well do you perform in physique? How well do you perform in your social skills or your relationships or your networking or however you want to call it, right? All of that is burden of performance. Burden of performance is then, of course, built upon mental point of origin. Who do you think of first? How does that affect your burden of performance? Are you constantly thinking about pleasing others? Are you a pleaser, right? Are you a servant leader in the church, right? Who is at the low? Like I cover this in my most recent book, Reignite. There's a part in there where I talk about we talk less about the Matrix in this, and I talk more about the movie Inception. Remember Inception? We had to go down all the way down to the bottom, the bottommost thought of the inception of the actual idea of something. That's really what mental point of origin is. It's at the very bottom of the stack, of your cognitive stack. when you're faced with a decision, when you're faced with a choice, when you're faced with something that's going to affect the course of your life, who or what comes into your brain first, like instinctively comes into your brain first. And unfortunately for a lot of guys, they've been trained and conditioned to think that they've got to either make mommy happy or make somebody else outside of themselves happy, or future girlfriend happy, or wife happy. And it's usually girls. It's usually women. It doesn't always have to be, but it's usually whatever their particular authority figure happens to be. That's the first person or group or idea that jumps into their brain before they make those decisions. And all I'm saying is that you need to be the one that is at the bottom of that cognitive stack. And that goes to burden of performance, that goes into money, muscles, and game, and that comes out as frame. So that's my advice anyways to guys who, for this question right here, is focus on all three at the same time, which is pretty much what Mike just said. That's just my roundabout way of saying it. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, that's what we hear all the time. It's like, on the calls with guys, it's, well, what do I focus on? I don't want, and a lot of this is not pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. And Michael, you can talk to this definitely about, hey, I want to get in shape before I go talk to women. I want to get in shape. I want to get my money together before I go start doing a program like Michael.
Inner game before I go talk to women.
Well, yeah. So Michael, can you just talk to that mentality of, hey, I got to wait to talk to women. I got to wait to start relationships and getting in it with women.
I think you can wait to get in relationships, but you don't need to wait to talk to women. Mystery had a saying I used to love. He goes, anything so you don't have to go to the party. Yeah. Anything. He's like, what is the excuse? Well, I have to get in shape. Any reason to not go to the party. Okay. What is the other reason? Well, I don't have enough money. Any reason you can come up to not go to the party. Listen, you getting over your fear of going up and talking to women and learning how to do so has so many downstream ramifications to help you in so many other walks of life. Number one. And number two, the number one reason why so many guys join my program is they are financially successful, but women are taking advantage of them because they're financially successful and they don't have the updated technology to be able to deal with the 2026 predatory woman. Not all of them are predatory, but enough of them are, and they're being incentivized to be predatory, and you don't have the software update to deal with it. You have the software update to understand how to hire a bunch of programmers in Pakistan and run a fucking company where you make $100,000 or $200,000 a month. Good job, bro. You understand SEO. Good job, bro. You're a remote closer. Good job. You understand all this stuff. Good job, bro. You're making money. Good job, bro. Then I put a woman in front of you, and then she starts messing with your boundaries. She starts manipulating you. She starts doing, and she's not even meaning to do it on purpose. She's not even doing it because she's a bad person. She's doing it because her evolutionary algorithm is always hypergamous. It's always looking for the better thing. And so you don't know how to deal with it. So you play into her shit tests instead of avoiding them. You don't know how to deal with it. You don't have the updated technology. You think you're too old to date a younger girl. You think that because you live in a small town, you can't date a girl. You look at my lifestyle and you think, well, Michael only has that because he has money. Bitch, I spend no money. Look at my fancy Apple Watch. You're out of your mind, bro. I spend nothing. I act broke as fuck.
Casio.
And I've dated some of the most beautiful women in the world, and I can prove it. And so what happens over time is that, like, there's all these things you're like, well, I don't need this. I need to just get good with money first. And even Andrew Tate, but the thing is with Andrew Tate, he's selling a course on how to make money. Good on him. That's what the real world was. It's a course on how to make money. And if the course is on how to make money, if you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So the answer to getting women is what? To get more money. Well, the answer is a lot more than that. And if you want to ask anybody, if you were to ask Dan Bilzerian, it's like, hey, do you know a bunch of guys who are super rich and super famous and have a hard time getting laid? And he goes, yeah, I know a ton of guys. Most guys are like that. They don't know how to get laid because they don't understand. They don't have the software update. They don't understand how to link the MacBook with the Windows machine. They don't know how to link the two. They don't understand the software update. They understand the software update when it comes to making money in 2026. They don't understand the software update when it comes to dealing with a woman who's addicted to her phone. She's addicted to stimulus. She's addicted to social media, and she's always looking at her job. And then this girl she goes to the gym with who makes 50 grand a month fucking herself on OnlyFans, and she's always pulled in this direction. And you don't know how to deal with this woman. You don't know how to deal with her. And I teach you how to deal with her. I teach you that if she can see clearly that you're not the best she can do. By the way, Here's a tip for you guys. Any of you guys who've been ghosted before, here's the reason why you're being ghosted. You're being ghosted because when you talk to a woman, she can tell this conversation is more important to you than it is to her. And you're being ghosted because she can tell she's better than any woman you can get. So now you guys are going out there with your, oh man, I made all this money and I figured out how to dial in my upfront ROAS on my meta ad spend. And you're good at business. I give it to you. You guys are kicking ass at business. And then what happens is that you end up having to deal with women and you have no idea what to do. You have no clue. And then you think it's juvenile to even learn. But when you're 30, 35, 40, and now you're making these decisions poorly, you get into a relationship with a woman who's going to take half your money and now you're fucked. And a lot of those women aren't even bad women. A lot of times, guys, women will cheat on you just because you can't hold frame. You just can't hold frame. That's the reason why. It's like, I love Owen Cookie says this. He goes, women don't want to be in a harem, but they'd rather be in a harem than fuck you. That's the truth. And because you guys don't understand how to maintain boundaries, you don't understand how to maintain frame. And when you do, what happens is that girl who's a fucking nightmare, she becomes an angel. She's cooking and cleaning for you. She's making me, the girl who's a nightmare for you is making me Christmas dinner and just bought me a fucking TV for my bedroom. But she's a nightmare to you. And you're having to give her money just to hang out with her because you don't have the software update. You don't understand that you use mate choice copying and pre-selection to get women to recognize that you're a high status dude and that other women find you attractive. Then all of a sudden, all that shitty entitled behavior just goes out the door because she understands what's going on.
Yeah.
Another way to say this, I'm not saying whether or not I have a girlfriend, but if I have a girlfriend, this is the way I would say it. Okay. I fuck other women in front of my girlfriend because I love her. I fuck other women in front of my girlfriend because I love her, because she understands how selection works. Huh?
Clip starts here. Yep. Mark that. I was going to say is from my side of the fence here is, as you know, I'm partners with Miguel Munoz and Charlie in Cultivate Crypto and Dollar Cost Crypto. That's how we do Red One Studios, right? Whenever I am doing affiliate work with them, or if they want me to go and speak on one of their Zoom calls or something like that, it invariably comes down to guys who are in the crypto space and they go from zero to hero overnight. And so you've got these guys who had $0 in their bag, and now suddenly they have $10 million in their bag. And I can remember, actually, I think it was the time I met you. Miguel and I were in Vegas, and we went to the Pulse Chain convention that was going on. It's for Hex and stuff, when Hex was actually something. And I was going through the convention. I had so many of these guys come to me, go, Rollo, and they wanted to take a picture and they wanted to, do selfies, and they wanted me to sign books and everything else. I had no idea that there was such a crossover between the red pill space and the crypto space. And I fully embraced it after that. That's, Miguel and I have actually thought about how can we do a podcast about this. But the thing is, the most common problem that those guys have is exactly what you described. Is they have a lot of money and they're really good at crypto. They're really good at, at shit coins. They're really good at, at seeing trends. They're really good at that stuff because they've been in it for so long, right? But they don't know anything about women. And suddenly what happens is when these guys have a lot of money, that's when the women start coming around and they think that their ship has finally come in, right? They think, oh my gosh, they'll be at the Bitcoin conference in Orlando or like last year, I think it was here in Vegas. You have to be careful because that you want to talk about predatory women. That's where they go. They look for easy marks, right? And if you don't have any of those social skills, if you don't know how to watch out for, if you can't tell the difference between, a sugar baby and, somebody who's, or maybe even just a regular stripper or somebody, you have no real skills. You have no frame of reference for that. And a lot of guys, surprisingly, I would say probably half of the guys are resistant to it. Like when you're trying to tell them, hey man, you should probably be really cool. They go, no man, she really loves me. Like, okay. And then the other guys are being like, okay, what should I do in this case? Like they really want to know. I think they're a little bit more analytical in that idea, but it again, the idea of going from like zero to hero and not having those skills, it really comes from only grossing out in one thing, which is money. They have a lot of money, but then you got a guy like BitBoy, right? Like Ben had a psychological meltdown. He got into a relationship with a woman, got married, got divorced, lost a lot of money. and essentially lost his mind. And I watched it happen live in real time. And I like Ben a lot. And I told Miguel I really wanted to help him out. It's BitBoy. Anybody in the crypto space knows exactly who I'm talking about. And then just to watch him sort of melt down and flame out was really hard for all of us to see that, because we knew what he was like before and we knew what happened to him afterwards. And that is sort of one story, one illustration of one of the reasons why I do I've always done what I've done, but I want to be able to keep the noose off of people's necks. I want to keep the gun out of your mouth. I want guys to know that there's still something, some hope left, right? I think a lot of guys, especially in the black pill doomer, nihilistic, despondent, personality type, really want to find some way to, like you said before, Mike, like what was it? Mystery was saying, find ways not to go out, like find reasons not to go out.
Anything you can do to not go to the party. Yes.
And when you take that to its most absurd, illogical extreme, that's when you get guys who are just like, they're borderline, despondent at that point. And then maybe you get a guy like BitBoy, right? Then I don't want to see that happen, right? I forget the guy's name. His name was Owen or something like that. This one guy who was like posting about, I think he had some money, but he was posting about how he just got this great Swedish girlfriend back in August. And then just recently he posted another one of the same picture. He says, well, it was good while it lasted. And I'm like, I told everybody at that time, I said, don't throw shade at this guy. Don't give this dude hate. Like, just say, hey, look, we're here for you. We'll talk to you. Read this book here. Read The Rational Male, whatever else. I will never shit on anybody who, like, I don't care if you thought you were, you had the world around your fucking finger and now suddenly you don't because you thought you knew everything. I'm not going to be the one that says, oh, I told you so. Like, I think that's the worst thing you can do. It's like, at that point, you really need to bring guys in. But again, like another thing Mystery was saying, and more to this point, is that your outer game actually solves 90% of your inner game problems. Yeah. Going out and actually doing shit. What's true? What would you?
Sorry, therapist. It's true. You want to get over your problems? Don't go see a therapist. Get in the fucking weight room and go date a beautiful woman. Like, seriously, it's true.
Yes.
And I just can't imagine, like, how the fuck does that make sense if 10,000 years ago there are no therapists, but yet somehow men got over their problems somehow? No, they got over their problems because they would do shit. They would provide and protect, which allowed them higher status in the tribe. And then they felt better. That's how this works. It's obvious that's how this works, but I'm supposed to believe that I'm going to feel better when I express myself more. No, I will express myself to people who fucking deserve it. People who've been there for me, people who I trust, but you're not going to hear me. I'm not going to express myself to some girl I met on the first date. That's ridiculous. And that's what these guys are being taught. And there's no way you can tell me that that's the correct answer is to read this book and then journal. No, bitch. The correct answer is to go outside into sunlight, touch grass, play flag football with your homies, get on the squat rack and go talk to a beautiful woman when you don't feel like it. That's how you feel better. That's it.
I have done so many shows about the nature of happiness, and I actually go get the book. I really need to give you this book, Mike, because it's not on Audible. You actually have to use your eyes and read a freaking book. Okay,
what a ridiculous concept.
Yes, okay, what a horrible idea that is. But the book is called. The book is called Positive Evolutionary Psychology. I trust me, it's not that long, but there's a good chapter on there about happiness. And one of the things they talk about, happiness is an emotion. It's actually one of the 5 base emotions, right? So that, there's fear, there's happiness, I forget the other ones, but happiness is like emotions. Like I think a lot of people put a lot of weight and gravity on emotions, right? They think that they're magic, right? They think that they're divine, like love is God, right? They think it's magic pixie dust that falls out of the freaking, out of the sky. And it's like, no, I can change your attitude and I can change your mood and I can change your emotions with 2 shots of tequila or 100 milligrams of Tren. However you want me to do it. I can change your mood right now as a result of that, because emotions, and happiness being an emotion, are proximate outcomes. They are not ultimate outcomes. You don't just get your college degree and suddenly you're happy and you're content and you're in this nirvanic state of bliss for the rest of your life because you made it all the way to the end and you killed the final boss in the game and you beat the game and now you're happy. No, you're fucking not. When you were on your way and building up and you were playing the game and you were you failed, you couldn't kill the final boss, or you couldn't get the fucking diploma, and now you come back and you pick yourself up and you learn more and you do more about it. While you're assuming that's intrinsically rewarding to you, what's going to happen is you're going to feel happy, or you're going to find it intrinsically rewarding because you're actually doing something. You can't be happy. You can't be content. You can only do the things that make you feel the state of happiness. And this is I've harped on, God damn it, I hate it when I get on this topic. I've harped on this for so fucking long because we have sold women on this fucking lie that you are not only, ladies, can you be happy and, get to this, my man has to make me happy all the time, right? No, you're never going to be happy because you're not doing things. You're not just going to I'm going to have kids and I'll be happy. No, you're going to be working your ass off. And maybe the act of like doing that and being a mother is going to make you feel happy, but you're not going to be happy because happiness is not an ultimate outcome. It is something you feel while you're doing something. And that goes right back to what we were talking about before, is when you are talking about, I can't learn game until I figure this out, or I don't want to go out to talk to people. I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to take action at all until I figure these other things out for myself. But the problem is if you actually took the action to go and do those things, it would help you resolve whatever the fuck it is that you think is holding you back at that point, because you're actually out there doing something and making progress. And even as much as I dislike Jordan Peterson, he was right about one thing, which is if you make your bed in the morning, you're actually doing something that has a very stupid, meaningless, goal of making your bed, but you actually completed something. You did something that day, right? And it's not that you made your bed, it's the act of making your bed that is important. And it's one of the things that gets me about people throw these stats at me all the time about how women are on record levels of SSRIs on antidepressants right now. And the reason they are is because we've sold them this bill of goods that they are entitled to long-term, sustainable, maintainable, nirvanic joy in this bliss state all the time. And when they don't get that, we give them a medical substitution for that, which is either legalized marijuana, it's alcohol, or it's Xanax, or it's whatever SSRI of your choice. And that's why they are at record levels of prescriptions for antidepressants, because you're not depressed. You're just not out fucking doing something. And if you're out doing something, you're taking action, you're going to be in a lot better mental state if you're actually doing something. Go ahead, Joe. What's the next question?
Michael's been in that chair for over 4.5 hours. So let's wrap it up. And Michael, do you have like a final word for us that's words of wisdom or talking about men of action?
Hey, man, listen, the only thing I can tell you, bro, if you have any doubt about anything I teach, I'm totally open to it. If you want to debate me, we'll do a live stream. We can do a debate. I'd like Twitter Spaces. We could do something like that. But if you want to do so, because this is what happens generally, there's a Kobe right here. If you want to do that, please, all I'm asking you to do right now, guys, if you have any skepticism, because I'm looking for the guys who are skeptical, is just go on my YouTube channel, and there's a playlist on there called Limiting Beliefs. If you're like, what Michael does doesn't work because I don't have enough money, watch the video with me and Adam Sosnick talking about never leading with money. If what you believe is, hey, man, this won't work for me because I don't have enough time, read the one that I just came out with last month that goes over how this actually saves you time and cold approach and dating apps are wasting your time. If you're one of these people who are like, Michael, I'm too old and I don't feel like this would work for me, I feel like it's not age appropriate, watch the video on being too old and how that's not really a thing. If you're one of these people who are like confused, like when I go out to clubs, like 20 years ago, I used to see all these beautiful women and I don't see them anymore. Watch the video called Hot Women Are Not Going Out Anymore. Here's where to find them. If you're one of these people like Michael, I just want to get into a long-term relationship, watch the video called Getting Into a Long-Term Relationship. Go to the Limiting Beliefs playlist on my YouTube channel, and every single objection you have, I promise I handle it. Because the reality is, if what I was doing wasn't working, I wouldn't have 4,300 clients. And I'm so grateful to all these guys who come out here every week on, whenever I do my Tuesday call. I just got off my Tuesday call right now. We had over 100 guys on there. And being able to do this, and then being able to, have every time I go out, having guys come up and be like, hey man, I love the stuff that you're teaching, and understanding that. And then also having women come up to me and be like, I hate the stuff that you're teaching. I can't believe you're teaching this. My boyfriend started watching you do this, and now he has a bunch of female friends. And I'm like, did you break up with him? She's like, no. I was like, no, I didn't break. I was like, I know you did break up with him. You probably were going to. And so just having all these guys who've gone through divorces, who've gone through custody battles, who've had the ex-wife talk shit about them, who like all these different things that guys have gone through, and having this knowledge base of guys to come together and make it work. If it doesn't work, then go to trustpilot.com and find a bad review on me. You won't find one, because there's nobody who's taken my course who has a bad review. Please, guys, the answer is out there. I don't care if you don't take Men of Action. A lot of you guys are probably not ready for it. But if you still have these objections and you're like, I don't understand why, like I had one guy, he was using a matchmaker. And I've said this before. I think matchmakers are basically escort agencies at this point. It wasn't like that before, but it's gotten really close to that. And this guy was going to matchmaker, and he was like, and I was explaining to him, the only reason the matchmaker is accepting you and presenting you to women is because he's trying to let people know how much money you have. And he's like, what's wrong with people knowing how much money I have? And I was like, that doesn't generate genuine desire. It's like not like the drummer does, or the football player, the center fielder, or the movie star, or the guy who's the quarterback of the high school football team. He gets genuine desire, and he couldn't understand. He thought that money and genuine desire were the same thing. Well, why is that? It's because he's financially successful, but he doesn't have the software update. If you guys want that software update, please go to the Limiting Belief playlist on my YouTube channel. I promise you, you will get answers to every single objection you've ever had.
Yeah. I should also point out, like, when it comes to our group, Reignite, we tend to cater our message and cater our program towards guys who are a little bit older. So when we're talking to guys who are basically trying to rebuild their lives, that's why we call it Reignite. So it's guys who are trying to get back their mojo, right? Guys who have been out of the game for a long time. And really, I should probably point out the fact that the reason why Joe and I even got together was because of MOA, because of you. I mean, it's because that's actually how we met. So yep. I would call Reignite sort of like a spinoff of MOA, in the sense that that we are trying to help out guys who are trying to rebuild their lives and put themselves back together again. So there's a qualifiable difference between like guys who are 18 to 29, 18, 35 years old, who are like, say, hey, Mike, I want to go out in the clubs, show me how to do this kind of stuff. And then there's the other guys who are like, holy shit, I just got out of a 20-year marriage and I need to try to, figure out things. We just had, I don't know if you know this, Mike, we just had James Sexton on our Zoom call 2 weeks ago, because we had a guy on there who's going through the ringer right now in a divorce. And he was asking questions that me and Joe really didn't have the answers for. So we have a network of guys, and one of those guys happens to be Jim Sexton. So we had him on for about an hour, and he gave us some really good advice, and prepared these guys and said, here's what you can think about. We had Aaron Clary on 2 weeks ago, and Aaron was giving us some more practice. He's more of the economist. What Aaron's all about. And the beauty of all this, I think, is, and not only with your group but our group as well, is we're a network of individuals right now. So I have the ability to say, hey, Jim Sexton, can you come on, just talk to my boys for 45 minutes, an hour. He'll do it, right? If I want to I've got some guys in the fitness areas right now. Like if I want to get Hide Yamagishi on, I can get Hide on. It just depends on what that guy's particular needs are at that time. But again, you also work with Owen Cook. You also work with other guys like Ty Lopez and some of these other dudes, right, as well. And so you have, whether or not they're going to actually be participating in your latest Zoom call, is kind of immaterial. I know you're going to go do something with Owen in San Diego pretty soon, right? Yeah. And I'm sure there's always going to be sort of that Super Friends Marvel team up kind of thing going on right there. Yeah. So I think that's another thing that a lot of people don't understand about our group dynamics right here, is if we like, for instance, I've never been divorced. So you can ask me questions about divorce and I can sort of give you like my practical analysis of it, but I'm in no way as experienced as Joe is, because Joe's gone through that already. And Mike has never been divorced either because he's never been married. So, and that's another thing is like, if you want to talk about marriage, I can talk to you blue in the face to that, but then there's other people who can't, right? So if I don't know something, I probably know somebody who does. So if you want to talk about finances, if you want to talk about economics, if you want to talk politics, if you want to talk psychology, you want to talk whatever the fuck it is, if we don't have it down, we have somebody in the network that does. Like Jim Kilgore is our style guide. I've also got Christian Baum from Jackson Maximus. He wants to work with us as well. And I've got other individuals who, whether it's your style, I'll tell you, man, Jim Kilgore, I got to build him up just a little bit, because like the fact that he was like helping some of our dudes and pointing out stuff that I wouldn't have seen, right? When we're talking, hey, why don't we go down to this store here and get a new tailored suit for one of our guys? That's something that we'll do, right? So it's like hands-on, whatever, we're catering our program to whatever your individual needs are. And to my knowledge, I don't think anybody else is doing that except for me and Mike. So
I love it.
Anyways, all right, we'll let you go. You've been on for too long. So
I've been on since 1. I've been doing calls since 1 p.m. Yeah.
Rolling in, man. But anyways, I want to start doing this on a semi-regular basis, Joe. So we're going to be, we'll be getting together doing a reignite stream once a week.
Can we get some hateful, feminists on here, please? That would just
I have to point this out. I think the best advocate, the best advertising for our group is Jamie Lynn. Because she hated us, man. She started the Pink Pill podcast to just tear us down, and now she's like, "Okay, maybe you're right."
Yeah, maybe you're right. She goes, "I've become red pilled." It's like, yes. Yeah, because you have to coach women. That's why.
Genius, man. It's like you couldn't have asked for a better promotion than that.
All right, guys, I'm gonna get out of here.
Nice.
Hey, always,
thanks,
guys,
Mike.
remember this. Remember, if you like a girl, introduce her to a girl you're sleeping with. I'll see you guys soon, man. Take care.
All right.
Cool. All right, guys. All right. I'm out. I'll see you guys later. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching, everybody. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Okay.
We're out.
Let's go.